Stoics believed that negative thinking cripples the human mind and puts people into positions of disgrace and downfall. The anti-Stoic life that negative thinking brings is bad for the soul and the mind. In this video today, we have the key to solving this major problem with 7 Stoic lessons inspired by Stoic philosophers and major Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. Make sure you stay until the very end in order to fully absorb the power of Stoicism and its way to rewire negative thinking in the mind. Before we start, I would like to say thank you to everyone watching. If you are not subscribed to us, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for more inspirational, life-changing Stoic content. Also, don't forget to like, as it helps us spread the word on the life-changing philosophy of Stoicism. Lesson 1. Notice negative thoughts objectively. I want to start by talking about the importance of noticing negative thoughts objectively. It's so easy to get caught up in a downward spiral of negativity, but the Stoics encourage us to step back and simply observe our thoughts without judgment. Rather than suppressing negative thoughts or beating yourself up for having them, practice viewing them calmly from the perspective of an outside observer. Imagine your mind is like a stream. Thoughts will arise and flow by whether you want them to or not. By developing the ability to notice thoughts non-judgmentally, you can avoid getting immersed in their negative emotional pull. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, described this practice as looking at your own mind as you look at a pane of glass. Just as you can see distortions in glass without critique or reaction, you can watch negative thoughts arise without clinging to them or letting them define you. Over time, this practice can help create psychological distance from troubling thoughts and emotions. Rather than being at the mercy of negativity, you can choose how to respond wisely. So remember, when negative thoughts enter your mind, don't suppress or judge. Just notice them calmly, like an outside observer watching a stream flow by. Lesson 2. Question: the validity of negative thoughts. Oftentimes when we're feeling down, our thoughts can seem so convincing in the moment. A Stoic would encourage us to take a step back and ask, is this thought really reflecting absolute truth or just one perspective? For example, if you make a mistake at work and immediately think, I'm terrible at my job and everyone thinks I'm incompetent, that's likely not an objective fact. It's an exaggeration and distortion that your mind is creating. The Stoics would tell us to question that thought. Is it absolutely true that one mistake means you're terrible at your job? Is it true that everyone now thinks negatively of you because of one incident? When you really examine a negative thought, you'll often realize it's more nuanced than your emotions want it to be. The cognitive distortion makes it seem rational, but it likely looks very different from an outside perspective. Remind yourself that your mind sometimes latches onto extremes of black and white thinking. The reality is usually more complex. By questioning negative thoughts and analyzing their veracity, you can begin to realize how much power you give them over your emotions and self-perception. Challenging exaggerated or irrational thoughts allows you to reframe situations in a more balanced, realistic way. So, the next time you notice negative self-talk, pause and ask yourself, is this thought absolutely true? Or is my mind just latching onto one negative perspective? Lesson 3. Replace negative explanations with neutral or positive ones. The Stoics understood that our emotions stem directly from our judgments and explanations of events. If we can shift from negative explanations to more balanced ones, our emotions will follow. For example, say you're passed over for a promotion at work. Your initial explanation might be, I clearly don't have what it takes for advancement. My boss doesn't believe in me. But try to imagine other possible neutral or positive explanations. Perhaps your boss thinks you're extremely valuable in your current role, or perhaps organizational factors like seniority influence the decision more than your own merit. When you make a habit of redirecting away from negative conclusions, you start to realize they are often not the only valid way to view a situation. This process allows you to move away from catastrophizing and put things in a healthier, more helpful perspective. The Stoics would reflect on how often our judgments are influenced by emotion rather than facts. It takes practice to overcome our bias towards negative interpretations. But by consciously looking for alternate, neutral, or positive viewpoints, we utilize one of the most empowering Stoic tools. Our explanations drive our emotions. So be on guard for exaggerated negative explanations and take time to generate balanced alternatives. This act of redirecting your thinking builds self-efficacy and resilience. Lesson 4. Focus on what you can control. This could be dwelling on other people's opinions, a failure to get the outcome you wanted, the weather, past events, the list goes on. When we ruminate on these externals, we sap our mental energy and fuel our own feelings of anxiety, anger, or helplessness. The Stoics encourage us to realize that the only thing fully within our control is our own thoughts and actions in the present moment. Everything else is externals. So if you find yourself consumed by worry over things you can't currently control, make an effort to refocus your mind on what you can control. For example, you can't control whether you get a job promotion, but you can control how hard you work on your current tasks. You can't control how other people behave, but you can control whether you respond compassionately. Focusing on our own actions fosters self-efficacy and prevents external factors from determining our emotional state. It's empowering to direct mental energy towards what we can do versus what we can't. When we have inner control over our judgments, values, and conduct, we have access to freedom and tranquility of mind. The next time you catch yourself dwelling on externals, pause and ask, what do I have control over in this situation? Then channel your mental energy there. This Stoic practice reduces negativity by preventing helplessness and directing attention towards what matters most, your own actions. Lesson 5. Use adversity as training. As the great Stoic philosopher Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. It's our judgments and responses that determine their impact on our well-being. Rather than viewing difficulties as punishing or defeating, they saw them as opportunities to strengthen virtues. For example, an illness could be viewed as a punishment and source of anger, or it could be viewed as an opportunity to practice courage in the face of adversity or compassion for those who suffer. Losing a job is understandably disappointing, but it also presents an opportunity to reflect on justice and treat others with dignity. Conflict can lead to bitterness, or it can provide training to respond with wisdom. When we shift our judgments of adversity from being obstacles to being training, it fundamentally changes their emotional impact. Challenges become meaningful chances to expand our character strengths. Each difficult scenario provides a new classroom to either build virtues or let vices take over. The Stoics would remind themselves that becoming a wise, just, courageous person requires training and practice. Hardships provide that opportunity. So, the next time life throws you a curveball, take a deep breath and ask yourself, how can I use this as training to practice wisdom, justice, courage, or other virtues? Adopting this mindset turns adversity into fuel for growth. Lesson 6. Don't accept life to be fair. One of the hardest but most liberating things we can do is accept that life isn't always fair. This flies in the face of our natural human tendency to want justice and fairness when bad things happen to us or those we love. The Stoics recognized centuries ago that trying to control life's unfairness only leads to more suffering. We'll drive ourselves crazy over all the shoulds and should-nots. Instead, they encouraged radical acceptance of reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. This doesn't mean resigning ourselves to wrongdoing or unethical behavior, but for many of life's difficulties, illness, loss, accidents, fairness doesn't come into play. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, demand not that events should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. So how can we put this into practice? First, notice when you have an expectation or demand that life must be fair or just. Catch yourself feeling resentment bitterness, or self-pity. Then consciously work to let go of the notion that you are owed a certain outcome. Remind yourself that the only guarantee in life is that it will not always be predictable or controllable. From this place of radical acceptance, you can now move forward with wisdom and resilience. Rather than being paralyzed by a victim mentality, you can look for meaning, growth, and purpose even in difficult circumstances. You will tap into your inner reserves of strength. Learning to accept life's inherent unfairness is challenging but freeing. By letting go of unrealistic demands and expectations, you stop struggling against the parts of life that are beyond your control. This takes courage, but allows you to move forward unburdened. Lesson 7. Be kind towards yourself. One common source of negativity is the harsh inner critic many of us have. The Stoics recognize the importance of relating to ourselves with compassion. Treating ourselves with kindness allows us to break free of negative thought patterns. It's easy to get caught in a cycle of self-criticism, self-blame, and self-judgment. We beat ourselves up over mistakes, feel ashamed of vulnerabilities, and question our self-worth. This critical inner voice generates tremendous negativity and stress. The Stoics would advise us to treat ourselves as we would a close friend who is struggling. Talk to yourself with understanding, patience, and care. Offer yourself encouragement rather than criticism. Validate your inherent worth rather than questioning it. This applies even when you genuinely mess up or act counter to your values. The Stoics say a key characteristic of wisdom is learning from our mistakes and resolving to do better next time. Berating yourself will not help. Kindness does. On a daily basis, monitor your self-talk and shift from self-criticism to self-compassion. Express gratitude for your abilities rather than focusing on shortcomings. See your challenges and flaws as opportunities for growth. Celebrate small wins. At times of failure or pain, soothe yourself with warm words of comfort. Validate that the experience is difficult, but that you have the inner resources to heal and keep moving forward. Treating yourself with the kindness and compassion you deserve will gradually rewire your mental habits away from negativity. You will relate to yourself and your life challenges in a more positive, productive way. Thank you for staying till the end. If you feel any of these Stoic lessons resonated with you today, feel free to start a Stoic discussion in the comments. I welcome Stoic discussions, as they are what the great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca advised for. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, and if you want more content like this, subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you find peace and serenity in the Stoic ways.